Hello, everybody. My name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome you back to my next top 10 list here on my YouTube channel. And I'm going to keep the train rolling in terms of topic as continuation of what I did yesterday for my list. And it's going to be another Fortnite list, another Fortnite crossover list. But as yesterday was exclusively for anime crossovers, today's top 10 is going to be just crossovers in general. And if you know anything about Fortnite, whether you like it or you don't, one of the biggest things Fortnite has done within the recent years is become one of the biggest crossover gaming phenomenons like ever. As like there's crossovers from video games, anime, books, movies, TV shows, all this sort of stuff. There's stuff that's like not exactly specifically a crossover or collaboration, but characters that are made to kind of be a reflection and like a tribute to a certain type of character and whatnot. Epic Games has made themselves a big buttload of money by doing freaking collaborations with different companies and different creators for different IPs and franchises and whatnot. And we've seen numerous things like that over the years for Fortnite. And yesterday's list was exclusively an anime list. Today's list is just crossovers in general. But you are going to see a few repeat performances and repeat series because there's going to be a few, just so you know, anime on this list as well as everything else. And I think I came up with a pretty decent list when I did this list a few months ago. I did change it around a little bit. I did move a few things in there and added something that I clear as day forgot when I originally did this list, but I think it'd be amazing to see in there. But without further ado, and without this intro going on way too long, let's do the top 10 crossovers in general that I would love to see come to Fortnite. Number 10 is going to be our first repeat performance in terms of anime because it was in my top three in terms of the anime list because I wanted to really see it. And personally, it's up there for me in terms of the things I want to see the most. But in terms of when you throw anime in with every other type of collaboration and crossover that can join Fortnite and just take my personal want for the series to be represented out of it. It got knocked down a little bit, but it did stand the test of time to make it into the top 10, and that goes to the anime and manga Fullmetal Alchemist, because like I mentioned yesterday, I still believe Fullmetal Alchemist would make a great collaboration with the world of Fortnite. You got various characters like Ed and Al, you got Roy Mustang, you got Father, the Homunculi, you got Scar, you got numerous characters. You could throw like Winry or something as like a character on like the map where you could probably buy weapons from or upgrades or something like that. You can do alchemist powers, kind of like how they do the force powers, or like the mythic type items like the Kamehameha or the Deku Smash. You can do various quests with that. There's a lot of back bling, harvesting tools, wraps that you could easily throw in there, music for the menu. I think it is an anime that stood the test of time, and while it's not getting anything relevant nowadays, it's still a very popular anime and manga within the last like almost 20 years now. I think this the manga's a little over 20 years old, and the original anime, is about 20 years old. It's stood the test of time. It's one of the most classic anime, and I don't really care that there is nothing coming out for it right now, which might be a hindrance because it seems like Epic tends to go for stuff that they can market as relevant and recent, but it is popular enough, and I do think it deserves to get in there, and it's one of the anime and manga I'd like to still see the most in Fortnite. And as well as what I mentioned yesterday, it deserves to be here. Number 9 is going to go to a very, very popular graphic novel comic book series that's been around since the 90s, and that's Spawn. I mean, they already have various Marvel characters, various DC characters, but there are other comic books out there than just those. Image Comics has been a major thing since probably the late 80s, early 90s. A lot of creators that came from Marvel and DC made their own comic thing, and we got Spawn, one of the most badass, awesome, metal cool superheroes or anti-heroes, if you really want to be a little more specific, that you could really get, there. And he would have a lot of gear options and skin options you could throw in there for Fortnite. Different weaponry and different skins, wraps, and harvesting tools. You have various villain collaboration. They're like Clown and everything. And I think that would fit into the whole superhero narrative that they tend to go for without necessarily having to go to Marvel and DC for their 50 billionth character, because they are a crap ton of Marvel and DC characters already in there. And there's numerous other comic books for franchises outside of those two companies. Spawn, in my opinion, is one of the top choices for that. You'll see probably a few more later on mentioned. But Spawn is pretty freaking awesome. And it stood the test of time. It's still going strong, still being put in media. Spawn was literally a DLC character in Mortal Kombat 11. People still know the character. There's a rumor that they want to bring him back with the new movie, which has been in the talks for years. We don't know what the hell's going on with that, but, so on and so forth. Number 8 is going to go to... I don't know what that was. I just seen something on my phone. Number 8 is going to go to the video game franchise Metal Gear, or more recently, more well known as Metal Gear Solid, the Hideo Kojima project. What might be a hindrance for this is because Hideo Kojima is no longer with Konami, and Konami themselves haven't really done jack all with any of their IPs since freaking forever. But one of the most standout, iconic gaming franchises, despite it not having anything since like 2015 when the whole Kojima and Konami thing went down. I think it was like 2015, 16, something like that, when Metal Gear Solid 5 came out. It's been the Metal Gear franchise. It's been going since it was going strong since the 80s on the MSX when he first made the Metal Gear franchise. Then the PS1, then the GameCube, and PS2, and Xbox, and the 360, PS3, and all this other stuff. PS4, Xbox One. The Metal Gear franchise is one of those video game franchises that have stood the test of time. It stood out quite a lot. And I do think you could easily throw in... Actually, you could throw in numerous characters. Like, you could probably throw in some special ability to do CQC attacks as a close-range combat thing, like a harvesting tool that is literally like punching and kicking, or, well, it probably wouldn't be a harvesting tool specifically, but like a mythic type of thing where it's like someone's punching, kicking, they can grab someone and do like the CQC like stealth attacks. Maybe some special abilities where it helps you stealth more around the map. People already stealth enough, but special abilities would be kind of cool. You have numerous characters you could do. OG Snake, Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, Ocelot, Meryl, all the bosses from every single game. You got Raiden in there, you got OG Raiden, you got Revengeance Raiden, you have numerous characters, you can do special abilities, raps. It'd be freaking cool to see a freaking, like, glider that's a Metal Gear or a backbling that's a Metal Gear. Freaking, like, the little robot buddy for Otacon, that'd be cool. Backbling for him, you got numerous options there, I think. And then it'd be cool to get, like, an 8-bit like skin for like a snake, like where he looks very 8-bit and pixelated like the Metal Gear games. That would be cool. Number 7 is going to go to a duo thing. It's the same franchise essentially, but the American and the Japanese version of it, which would be interesting to see if they can diversify it and give us both at the same time. But that goes to both Super Sentai and the Power Rangers. One of the biggest IPs in terms of America for Power Rangers since the early 90s, and in terms of Japan, Super Sentai has been going since like the 1970s. Super Sentai is huge in Japan. And if you can get more Japanese-esque based characters outside of just anime, you can grow the Fortnite property even more around the world and more in Japan than it probably already is, which is probably massive in Japan. But it'd be cool to see like Super Sentai and Power Rangers, and like you throw in like the same character but maybe different versions of the character. So one's more Super Sentai based, one's more Power Rangers based. Each one has their own back bling and stuff like that. It'd be pretty damn cool. I mean, it'd be cool to get like Tommy Oliver in there as the Green Ranger and the White Ranger, and then numerous other Power Rangers. You get the helmetless versions, and you get the, like I said, you probably have to get the likenesses for the actors both from Power Rangers and Super Sentai, but I think it'd be cool. It'd be cool to get some freaking Power Rangers and Super Sentai-esque theme music for the menus, and then that could definitely be a quest thing, and that could definitely be a power thing, like going and find like a mythic. Could you imagine getting a mythic ability? It probably would only be able to be used once in the map, and you'd have to be the first one to get it. But to summon a freaking Megazord to jump down on the stage and just destroy everything, that would be cool. And it'd be cool, especially if you have a giant monster to fight the thing, and it's just like you have to survive, kind of a survival thing. If someone summons maybe two, maybe one's a monster and one's a Megazord, and they can battle each other, and if you get stomped on, you probably lose, you die and stuff like that, but I think it'd be cool. Number 6 is going to go to a repeat anime performance because I love this series so much. It has to be on there. It fell short when I did all crossovers, but in terms of anime, it was number 2, and that's Sailor Moon. I love the Sailor Moon franchise. Sailor Moon is one of my favorite anime of all time, and it's one of the anime out there that I feel deserves the most to get utilized in more media, which is weird because it's not. And I mentioned that yesterday. There's a lot of like stuff they could be doing with Sailor Moon since the freaking resurrection of it with Sailor Moon Crystal, but we don't see it. And this is not just relating to Fortnite, but anything. We don't see new games. We don't really see anything new from it, and it's one of the most popular franchises. It's like Dragon Ball Z. It's like Pokemon. It's like One Piece. One of the most iconic anime franchise, manga franchises of all time. I'd love to see it utilized more in media, and that's not just Fortnite. But in terms of Fortnite, I would love to see them because then you can get all the mystical moon powers and throwing the tiara and all this other stuff as mythics and cool back blings and all these characters and these villains from Queen Beryl up to Galaxia. I think Sailor Moon would be a good fit for Fortnite, and it's definitely the anime I push for the most, despite the fact that obvious number one is coming up really soon. And if you watched yesterday, you know what that is. We're in the top five, and number five is going to go to one of the most iconic book series turned movies, cartoons, and shows ever, The Lord of the Rings / The Hobbit. That is one of the biggest collaborations I could see them doing. I would love to see them more focus on the movies that, were done back in the 2000s and all the older stuff. I know they're going to want to treat, just like with Star Wars, which annoys me a lot, the whole new Rings of Power show that is complete and utter trash. And they'd probably put some of those characters in there, and that's not what I want. But I already could see Epic doing stuff like that because it's the modern day thing. But the characters stood the test of time. The classic characters from the books that they made cartoons on, video games on, the movies on, Peter Jackson and whatnot. I would love to see them just throw that in there because that could easily add some mythic weapons like the swords and the bows and stuff like that. That'd be kind of cool. Like they did with the Avengers, because the Avengers had all like the hammer and the shield and all this other stuff like Hawkeye's bow. You can get the sword, the axe, the bow, and all these different weapons that could just be placed on the map, and various skins, and maybe you have like freaking like giant trolls and like orcs that could be fought on the map too, kind of like the stormtroopers and Darth Vader and all that other stuff. So yeah, Lord of the Rings is definitely a choice I'd like to see. Number 4 is going to go to my number one anime one from yesterday, and it has to be One Piece. The fact that One Piece is not yet in Fortnite, but we have Attack on Titan and My Hero Academia, strikes me as really weird because they started with Naruto, and then we got finally, after like a year and a half or so, we got Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball. And then you would think, okay, the next one's One Piece. And now comes My Hero Academia, which is still one of the biggest anime right now, biggest manga series right now. But then I'm like, why isn't One Piece in there yet? And then they do Attack on Titan this recent season we're in right now. And I'm like, wow, they're really holding off on One Piece because that's like the next obvious anime to include, the next obvious manga to include. There's so many characters. There's so many map ideas, weapons. You could freaking do the Gum Gum pistol punch as a mythic and punch someone from like 50 feet away. I think it'd be cool. Menu music, like sprays. I think it'd just be cool. Back blings, harvesting tools. Like I mentioned yesterday, it's the most obvious anime crossover, and it still made the top 10 here because it's one of the most, makes sense crossovers for Fortnite I've ever heard in my life. We are in the top 3, and number 3 is going to go to, like I mentioned with Spawn being one of the biggest graphic novel comic book series of all time. This is pretty much one of, if not the biggest, that turned into the biggest thing in the 80s and early 90s, and it's still going strong today. And that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Could you imagine? We have all 4 turtles as skins. You could probably do skins for the 80s cartoon, the OG graphic novels, 2003 series, the 2012 series, the various comics up to nowadays. You have different skins you can put for stuff, various different versions of April O'Neil, various different versions of Casey Jones. Different like villains. You have Shredder would be so awesome, especially if you can get like Super Shredder in there and Cyber Shredder in there. That would be awesome. Krang and all that sort of stuff. You can do some really special events where maybe like Cyber Shredder, Super Shredder is a boss on the map like Darth Vader was, and he's followed by foot ninjas. It'd be cool. I just think that is like the choice. And I think that was rumored at some point that was being brought to Fortnite, and they still haven't done anything with it yet. But that was rumored, I think, like a year or so ago, and it just makes you wonder, like, is it coming? Is it not coming? I think TMNT makes the most sense as the biggest graphic novel comic book thing to do right now. They've already got pretty much all the important Marvel and DC stuff out of the way, and then there's Spawn. But then TMNT is like right there, and it'd be cool to see them get into Fortnite. Number 2 is going to go to the original, what was going to be my number 1 on this list before I forgot that I did not include number 1, which is one of the biggest IPs of all time. But number 2 goes to Back to the Future. Fortnite deals with multiverses. Fortnite deals with time travel. Back to the Future is a sci-fi time travel movie and series, cartoons, video games, and whatnot. I'd be cool to have Marty McFly as a character, Doc Brown as a character, some form of Biff. You could have classic Biff, new Biff, Griff, all this sort of stuff. The DeLorean could be a glider. The DeLorean could be like a freaking back bling, as well as the flux capacitor. The freaking hoverboard could be Marty's back bling. Marty has like 5 million different costumes he could wear. And you have the quest of maybe traveling the map and doing this, and maybe the map at the time for quests can be like a time travel thing where you're jumping through time portals. Like right now, like what Star Wars is for you to get the Force powers. You go through time, you go through like rifts gates. It'd be cool, like go into the past. Like certain part of the map is the past, certain part of the map is the future. You got the Old West over here. You got the super futuristic thing over here, which you could do with the new like big city right now they got going. It's one of the biggest things. And it's one of the most classic 80s retro things you could do. There's so much you could do with it. And before we get to number 1, a few honorable mentions of series that, and IPs and franchises and entities that, while I don't think they didn't crack the top 10, they still are good series and stuff I'd love to see come to Fortnite. Just they barely missed the mark. And Beetlejuice, because that's a classic IP from the 80s. It supposedly is coming back. They're supposed to be doing a second one. That could be a good advertisement for that. The Mask, another comic book classic franchise that was very well beloved, and whether or not you go for gruesome, detailed, gory comic book Mask or the cartoony one of Jim Carrey, there you go. South Park, because it's one of the biggest IPs of freaking ever since the 90s. You can find some way to throw in like a character, even if they're not playable characters, because that'd be weird unless you have the adult characters, back blings and something from South Park. It doesn't have to be necessarily a character. Watchmen's another big IP from graphic novels. Castlevania is a massive video game IP. You could easily get away with Simon Belmont, Dracula, Alucard, every single Belmont in the world, from Trevor up to Julius. You got more, and Leon and all that stuff. Mortal Kombat, because that was supposed to be in there. There was a rumor it was supposed to be in there like a year or two ago. They were intending on it, and for some reason, the thing didn't work out, and they couldn't get the rights to the characters or something. But it'd be cool to have Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Liu Kang, Raiden, especially if it's just like the original 7 from the first one. That'd be cool, and then you can find a way to throw in Reptile and Ermac and Jax and Baraka and all that stuff later on. But if we can get the original 7 early on, that would be amazing. And you know how much gear you can get for them for different skins. Mega Man, classic Capcom IP. There's so many video game IPs they could easily throw in there. And like I said, with Castlevania Mortal Kombat, it makes so much damn sense. It's one of the biggest classic IPs of all time. And you have so much, just like with Castlevania, so much different Mega Man X, Battle Network, Legends, the OG, all this stuff, Star Force. It'd be cool to see that. Rambo, because that's a classic 80s movie series that was used to be a book series, and it'd be probably the easiest way to get Sylvester Stallone into Fortnite if we're not able to get Rocky or something. And then, in terms of a graphic novel series that's not like, Watchmen or TMNT or Spawn, but it's a smaller, newer, like individual, like indie franchise right now, but it's growing quite strong. Common America, because it feels like classic comic books, and that's what a lot of modern day Marvel and DC lack, is they feel like they're full of bull crap. Common America, like a lot of indie comics, feels like the classic old days of good stuff. And I feel it stands out nowadays in terms of small IP. That would boost that freaking franchise up immensely. So, drum roll please for the number 1 IP franchise crossover I'd love to see come to Fortnite. Harry Potter. Because Harry Potter is one of the most popular IPs in the freaking world, and has been since the series started the book series started in like 97 or whatnot, since the 90s. The movies, the video games, the toys, the collectibles, everything. We just had Hogwarts Legacy come out. They're doing a series for that. They're redoing the books as individual seasons, as a show. It's one of the biggest IPs in the world, and Harry Potter could easily be cool because you can get the characters in there. And even if you don't get the actual characters like Harry, Ron, Hermione, Just imagine like Jonesy and all the characters having skins you could buy where they're wearing wizard robes, and you could pick which house you want to represent. Like the Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, you can use wands as a mythic weapon, and they could do Wingardium Leviosa and lift people up. You could freaking hit them with Avada Kedavra, and it'd be interesting. And I think there's a lot of music options, harvesting tools, back bling, quests aplenty. Just imagine like a Hogwarts sprouting in the middle of the freaking map. And you can go there. So pretty much just take the Citadel down, destroy it, and it got rebuilt as a Hogwarts that you can just go around. That would be amazing. And that's my list. That's my crossovers. I hope you guys like the list. Put in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys agree with these 10 plus the honorable mentions? What crossovers do you particularly want to see in Fortnite? Discuss it down there. We have some fun. My name is Sniper's Fun. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day. And I'll see you all later in the next video. Bye, everyone.